Hello and welcome back to Down the Slope. I'm joking. I'll bring some more energy than that. I'm joined today by Craig and Ewan. Unfortunately for us, Liam is on a business trip. Fortunately for Liam, he doesn't have to spend the next hour or so talking about Hibs. But Craig, Ewan, you've joined me. Ewan, how are you getting on?
Oh, I'm good, buddy. I'm good. I know the Hibs game can bring him. It does bring your mood down. Actually, I know that's maybe actually probably the first time I've really felt that on Saturday night for a while. Actually, I thought I was sort of getting past the point of Hibs seriously impacting the mood, but I was really like Lauren said to me at like 9:30 on Saturday night. She's like, "You've not said anything." Like she was like, "You've literally hardly said a word." I'm like, I'm just so pissed off. Like, aye, but I'm over it now, buddy. Over it now.
And we've got Sports Sound's latest contributor, Craig. How did you enjoy that? Was that better than the game?
I don't even know if that's valid anymore, by the way. I think Colin was on their podcast today.
Oh, was it all right? Well, screw that. All right, Craig. Well, you're on it on Saturday. I thought you spoke well. Did you enjoy yourself?
Yeah, it was good. It was good experience, something different to do. I've got to say, I was absolutely raging after the game, and all I could think about, oh my God, I've got to go on the radio and speak about this lot after it. 2-1, I said to Bex, I was like, I'm quite looking forward to this actually. Getting to be positive for a change, but obviously we all know what happened.
That was silly of you, wasn't
Hmm.
Aye. And speaking things that were silly, starting lineup.
it?
Yeah, it came out, and I think the words that we were using were along the lines of interesting or not what we expected. Craig, I know you were probably a bit more on the optimistic side about the team lineup. Obviously, hindsight, it's easy to go back and say we should have changed things, but yeah, it just didn't click, did it?
Not really, to be honest, not at all. Uh, I wasn't too, I was trying to be positive, I think would be probably more accurate. Like, try not to be negative and just try to see the best in everything about it. Uh, it was different. I can't remember what it was exactly, but I put in the group chat like there was I wasn't expecting one of the players that's in. I honestly can't remember off the top of my head. Uh, but no, I wasn't too raging. But right from the start, I just we weren't great. We really weren't great. Lewis Miller obviously had a bit of a nightmare again. I wouldn't have started him and Cadden on the right hand side, so that maybe that I was
Aye.
quite concerned about the right hand side. Uh,
I think that was the biggest thing, Harry, from the starting 11. Obviously, the middle of the park, I think everyone expected Neil to come in for Tannadice, but what was the other change? Rudy for Campbell. Again,
Aye.
maybe an expected one, but the ineffectiveness of Cadden and Miller on the same side to see that put out there again for the third game in a row was a real surprise and a disappointment, to be honest. Genuinely was disappointing to see it again because it just I don't know about you, Craig, it just feels like back footish. Instead
I think
of
if it just feels wrong, to be honest,
aye,
it's not right, and it's I feel a wee bit for Cadden because I feel like although he can play higher up, he's not the player that you want. The way I look at it is if a right winger's going to be up there and he gets a chance in the box, I'm looking, do I have confidence that he's going to be able to take a chance? Not
mhm.
really with Cadden.
It's like
Uh,
he's
no,
like a winger back in the day when it was like everyone played 4-4-2 and your job was just to hit the byline and put crosses in. Do you know
yeah,
what I mean? Like I feel like in the sort of modern day football, I wouldn't really feel like he's going to, cut inside, like you say, or take on his man. That's not a criticism of him, and I think that's why a player like him is more suited to fullback these days. Like or wing back if you're playing 3-5
he's
or
not a
whatever.
forward and a front three.
Yeah,
That's for
aye,
sure.
yep.
Yeah. And again, I think I said it last time we were on the pod. I think the major disconnect with the team is there's a major disconnect with the team. Like, I just don't think we have a focal point to actually drive anything. I think Kwon once or twice tried balls to try and like break through the lines, but for me, putting Hoylett on the left wing and then playing exclusively down your weaker side, which is the right hand side, was just a bit stupid. I think Rudy's good and he'll actually take his man on, but for me at the current moment, I don't think he's quite ready to play in the 10. I think Hoylett being in that kind of more central position and just getting the ball into his feet because even if he's not going to skin his man every time, he's going to attempt to and he's going to have the confidence to. Whereas, and then Rudy, for me, I just think he seems a bit more explosive when he actually goes out wide at the moment and when he's playing through the middle. Um, Yeah, the midfield. I'd said it when midfield. When Newell came back in over Triantis, I was worried that we were going to get even more overrun than usual. I think
Mhm.
that's exactly what happened. I think Barry's cross for the first goal we scored, I don't think Newell contributed anything positive in the game. Again, that's not me saying that Newell's an effective player. I think he goes through spells of being good and being not very good, and I think that he's in the middle of a pretty stinking spell for my money. But yeah, sorry, I just wanted to get the midfield rant out the way nice and early because I think
Aye.
that's the massive issue that people are going on about the defense, people are going on about the attack, but the midfield doesn't exist and it's still massive and it just pains me.
I appreciate what you're saying. I don't know if I agree entirely, Harry. Like, I never, like, just watching the game, like, I never felt like we were being out competed or ran over or anything like that during the game. I thought we were probably the better side up to the point that Dundee United scored. And funnily enough, I actually just said right before they scored, I was like, Rudy's looks lively, but he keeps giving the ball away. And their goal came directly. Well, no, it's maybe a bit of a stretch to say directly, but he literally gives it away to Middleton and then obviously runs past Lewis Miller. Like, but I don't. I never felt at any point, like that Dundee United were well on top or that they like what you're saying. I never felt like the midfield was getting that they were struggling. And I thought we were keeping the ball okay in that, not creating loads. And then, to be fair, after their goal through to our goal, they probably then did get on top. But I don't know. I think the performance wasn't bad. I don't think through to the red card. I don't think it was
I
bad.
think
Like,
I think at the moment, I think teams have sussed out that we don't really know what to do on the ball. I think that we've seen it against maybe the last four or five teams, bar Rangers, that they will happily let us keep the
mhm.
ball as much as we want because we don't create chances. Like very seldom do we have we left the game this season thinking, you know the whole mantra we had under Lee Johnson at some point we're going to hit someone for four or five. I've
Yeah,
not
yeah.
once felt that this
No,
season.
I
I've
do
not
agree
wanted
with
to.
that. Yeah, I do agree
Like,
with
I just don't think we create chances. I think teams know that we don't have the capability at the moment. And then what you've identified as well is like Cadden, I think, is a serviceable wing back or right back, but he's not the type of player that's going to like put feet into the opposition if he's carrying
that.
the ball. Like, we just don't have enough dynamic players for whatever system we're attempting to play to actually work. That's why you just need to put the likes of Yuan and Hoylett in positions where they'll actually get the ball. And then Boyle, I know he's not had his best season, but he can be threatening and he has got that burst of pace from time to time that he still can do things with.
Yep.
But the way we set up, I just don't think aligned us with that. I just, yeah, I don't want to dunk on David Gray. We can have a proper talk about how we're feeling on him at the moment later on in the episode. But yeah, talk to me about the kind of. Let's just get straight into the meltdown at the end because I just want to rip off the band-aid. Craig, we're going into stoppage time. You're at the game. Atmosphere's probably mellowed because Jonio stupidly got himself sent off. What on earth happened?
Look, I'd actually defend obviously Junior a lot. Uh, More so off the pod with you guys, to be fair. But it's a bad one. It's really foolish, isn't it? It's not only does he jump into the challenge, but his heavy touch causes it for himself. And I feel like a player of his experience uh, should know. As soon as he takes that heavy touch, don't try and lunge for it and jump in, just stand up. Obviously gets himself sent off, and I turned around right away and I was like, "Well, there's no danger. We're seeing this out." I wasn't confident. Anyway, pretty much when we score ever to go ahead, the first thing I think to myself, right, when are we going to concede now? Because it's like that every week. You're just waiting on us conceding. Jonio gets sent off, and I don't know about other people about the game, but I just instantly was so not confident at all in our ability to see it out, and you can just feel a stinker coming at some stage. To be honest, that feels like that every single week. That no matter how well or not well, but to be fair, over the course, I actually think there's been large spells of our performance that have actually been okay. We just seem to every week find a way to shoot ourselves in the foot and end up conceding silly goals. So the feeling at the game was, here we go again.
Yeah, and obviously, I always think it's more heartbreaking when you're there, especially if it's an away day because you've made the trip through and stuff. But the dejection at the final whistle, and it's one of those goals that every time you watch it, there's another player. that pisses you off even more. Like I've, it's one of those things I can't help. I'm just suffering. Like I can't stop watching that goal every time it comes up on my Twitter feed. I have to watch it again. I'm just like the main one for me, and I know we try not to call out individuals, but what the fuck is Barsic doing? Like,
It's horrendous.
like
Absolutely
it's the
horrendous.
ball's not looped at all. It's a drilled cross to the middle of the box. He can't get anywhere near it, and by the time he's already committed, like he's like,
He
what
commits
happened?
late as well.
Yeah.
Like this is the thing. Like he doesn't. It's not like he makes his decision early. It's a fucking trend of his, to be honest. That maybe not so much on looped balls, but he seems to come then go, then come then go. We've highlighted it on on a couple of goals that we've conceded in terms of his positioning. Um, I've got absolutely no idea what he's doing. Genuinely, I think he's at fault for all three goals. All three. Even the first one. Maybe the first one's harsh, right? But the ball, it doesn't go along the edge of the 6 yard box. It goes across in the middle of the 6 yard box. He's at his front post. Maybe I'm being harsh, but it doesn't influence it at all. It's within sort of reach for him. I think he can do better with it.
I think you maybe been a bit harsh in the
But
sense
the
of saying
second one
he's at
is
fault, but
ridiculous.
he could maybe do better.
The
He could do
second
better.
the second one is awful, and the third one is just beyond belief. The third one is
It's a howler.
horrendous. Oh my, like he's so late, and I'm not being funny, right? If he just stays on his line, our entire conversation tonight's different. An entire conversation, because what I would say if that game finishes 2-2 is talking points that we are saying are team showed good character to come from 1-0 down to get 2-1 ahead. Joe Newell kind of fucked us with the red card, but do you know, at least we got a point. Do you know what I mean? Sort of thing. Like there's probably no questioning of the manager for a start. Maybe, unless other than those
No,
that are questioning the decision to keep him on while he's on a yellow. But do you know, like when you're playing for 15, 20 minutes with 10 men, if the game finishes 2-2, like, okay, that can happen. You should still see it out better. But that can happen. But to go and do that in the 99th minute of the game is just incredible. Really is incredible. Iredale gets his head on it. It's not the best clearance in the world, but he gets it out to the edge of the box, and it's a nothing position the guy's in if the goalkeeper's on his line. Do you know what I mean? Like it is the end of the game ultimately if he just doesn't do that. It's an absolute disaster from a goalkeeper that I don't know. I don't think he's anywhere near good enough. I really don't. Never kind of said that after the St Mirren game. I had some worries about him, and look, I'm not proclaiming to be right or wrong. Like I've also said, Josh Campbell's going to be Player of the Year. You know what I mean? Like I just don't think he's a good goalkeeper. Frankly, he looks small. He acts small. If that makes sense. Like even if he comes out there and punches the ball, it's it's not commanding. It's like a one-handed. It's not going anywhere. It's just hit. It's awful goalkeeping. Actually, it is. Oh, it's so bad. It's indecisive, poor decision making. It's everything that's haunting us this season. It's stuff that a head coach, a goalkeeper coach, nobody can control other than the individual. And it's a nervousness, lack of concentration. Honestly, I could actually just talk about that for an hour the night because it's just mind-numbingly stupid.
do you know what I
Monumentally
think?
bad.
Well, a lot of these players is that like they're a lot of people obviously have thrown out a lot of abuse, and I've seen some stuff that I think is probably over the top. Like these guys, they aren't doing these things on purpose. Like they're not going
No.
out to make these mistakes or anything like that. However, there is a severe lack of belief and confidence and like desire to defend.
Mm.
Not just the goalie, like the defenders
All of
and the
them, aye.
midfielders as well. Like there's the lack of aggression as well is frightening. Like, see when that
That's it.
ball for the second goal when it drops in the box, why are
Iredale
they not
stands
flinging
still.
themselves at it? There's
This
there's
is,
two or three of them just standing looking at it like frozen. Just I'm like, fling your body at it, man.
yeah,
Fling it.
absolutely.
I don't know if you watched any of the highlights for the Aberdeen game, but
They do
there's a team
on
that
the
want
line.
to defend, that want to stop the ball going in the back of their own net. Like our players at the moment just have, like I say, I can't. I'm guessing it'll be a mixture of everything, like because so many things are obviously going against them just now, rightly or wrongly. That's obviously affecting confidence, and they're just. I feel
Yeah,
like that lack of confidence is then affecting the decision making, because not
yeah.
all of these guys are shocking footballers. They're playing shocking just now. They're not inherently bad footballers, but they're all making. That's the thing. It's not just one player every week. It's spread about the whole team.
Yeah.
It's a team full of currently full of losers that don't know how to win a game. We
It's
go ahead and we have no idea what to do.
you can see it's confidence, it's panic stations, like, and this goes back to prob. I don't think any of the goals at St Mirren, like like the Ekpiteta pass at St Mirren, that's just an error. I don't think it's still early enough in the game, but they crumbled that day, and David Gray said so himself. Like in the second half, the arse fell out of them. Celtic, whatever, back-to-back games, and then we're playing Dundee at home. I don't think the mistake that O'Hora makes that day is O'Hora. I'll get that right.
Oh, horror
I
sounds
don't.
better.
I don't think that
Hold on.
mistake is. It's just bad defending. That is different. But like Obita Kelly, like what he does, it's rash, it's panicked, it's out of character probably for a Obita, maybe like it's just what are we doing here? Like it has to be a confidence thing, and that's for me. Like I'm sure we'll get on it, Harry, but that is not on anyone except the individual. It's not. You
So
cannot coach a player to not do what Bursick done. You cannot coach a player to not do what Jordan Obita done at Kilmarnock. Like that is individual concentration, calmness under pressure, an acceptance that you've you've got to be ready to react to different situations. Like Iredale was the one that stood out for me on the second goal. He's flat-footed and he kind of tries to block the shot instead of throwing himself out. You've mentioned in the past, Harry, James McPake. I don't think James McPake was a great defender, but when he had to, his body was on the line. The last ditch stuff is what he excelled in, if you like. Now, you're not a good defender if you're constantly in the last ditch, but when you are in that situation, you've you do have to stand up and be counted, and that's I said it, I think maybe last week about a desire to defend, and Craig said it there. Like that's what it absolutely is. Take a personal pride in your performance, a pride in your defensive work. Like I was listening to Gary Neville and Roy Keane and that on their podcast last week, and who was on? Wayne Rooney was on. So like the one of the best goal scorers in English Premier League history, and he was saying how he used to enjoy when United, if they went down to 10 men and they had to dig in and defend, and they were talking about it after maybe Arsenal, Man City, or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, where is that in our team? Instead of going, oh fuck's sake, we're down to 10 men, that's the game done, and capitulating go, do you know what? Right, we're going to fucking roll our sleeves up, see this game out, get down the road with 3 points, and everyone will be fucking buzzing. It
You know
just
what
seems
word I think you've
non-existent.
missed though? I think you've hit the nail on the head. And the first goal for me, it kind of screams out. I just think we really, really miss a leader. Like for the first goal, do you think if like in my head, if Hanlon's on the pitch, he's screaming at Ekpiteta to run across and
The
close that
cover.
space that
Oh,
Middleton has. Like you need someone there to just
yeah.
command the others to do something. And I know that everybody used to love to rag on Paul Hanlon, but most of the time it was because they were getting shrugged off the ball or missing it on headers. It was very rarely because the defense
Like
wasn't putting
positionally.
their all in. Aye. So for me, we just really, and then that's the thing. Joe Newell, yeah, I said at the time I didn't think he was right to be captain. Still don't personally. But who like O'Hora hasn't had a great season. He's probably going to wear the armband in an Edinburgh Derby. I think that's mental. Like, I don't think we've got any like captain caliber players that actually deserve to wear the captain's armband at the moment. And that, for me, is a massive part of the problem. And the thing is, as well, I know David Gray is well respected. He's been at the club for years, but him and his team are like very, very rookie level in how much experience they've had in the game. So it's like for the new players that don't get it yet, why would he like be able to just easily command respect from them? I'm not saying I agree with not like respecting the manager, but it's like what has he actually got to show for it? It's
I
like
disagree on that
we've
point.
got a
I think,
squad of let me finish. We've got a
sorry.
squad of completely rookie from bottom up. And the people that aren't rookies at the team are the ones that we've been trying to get rid of for the last 2 years. It just does my head in. The whole build of Hibs at the moment is just wrong, and it does my nut in. Sorry, you jump in.
No, I was just on the point about Gray. I think the respect element is the one thing that he should have. Do you know, like, I can't comment on his coaching or his coaching staff's ability to coach or the experience that they've got that merits them to be in the role, the various roles that they're in, be that first team coach, head coach, whatever. But if you come to Hibs, then, you know who David Gray is, and whether you've, like it'll get drilled into you. There's pictures all over the wall. Like there's you could probably stop and speak to anyone at HTC or at Easter Road, be that a fan, an employee, or anything. And if you asked them about the current head coach, then they would only have good things to say about him. Like to so I just don't in terms I respect in that way. I mean, maybe yeah, like in terms of the other, the physical, not maybe the man management side of it. Everything else other than that, then I would maybe be open to conversation on that. But if anyone was in that dressing room not feeling like he was getting them psychologically prepared, then I think that would be poor. And then a few ex-players have been on Open Goal recently, actually. Who was it? Jamie Murphy and Paul McGinn, I think. And they were both talking about the game at Hampden against Celtic when David Gray took charge. And they said that he gave the best sort of pre-match team talk that they'd ever heard. And like it almost moved like the players were almost too amped up. So, I don't have any doubts about him in that capacity. But what we do lack is him on the pitch. And I've got a rant sort of almost prepared about David Gray when we come on to the criticism that he's had. But if I see one more person saying he got the job just because he scored a header, David Gray done a lot more for this football club than just scoring a fucking header.
Yeah. And kind of on the same topic. And by the way, listeners, just to say, we do our best to be positive where possible, but we did get sucker punched in the 98th minute, so please do forgive us for not being our most
I
upbeat.
have a
Not kind,
positive.
Harry.
I have a
Aye,
positive. I have a positive. We
go for
didn't
it.
punt the ball out of the park straight for the opening kickoff. We actually kept it and knocked it about for a couple of minutes and looked like a functioning football team. And I'm not, it actually did make a difference, and we kind of got on the front foot from it. So that I'm not even taking the piss. I was like, fuck yes. Like, do you know what I mean? Like I physically noticed that. I was like, we've not just shelled this, and we actually moved it about not too bad. So hopefully that's a sign of things to come.
And a couple of the comments after the game, Craig, a lot of people are saying that we're far too soft and we're far too passive, and the team just seems a bit too nice. And I think I really agree with it because even in the locker room after the game, like in my head, the only
Aye.
person I could see going mental,
Locker room.
locker room, changing room, all right, fair enough. I'll give you that one. The only person that I could typically see going a bit mental would be Joe Newell. But if I've just went down to 10 men and my team's lost and the person that got sent off is having a go at me, I'd be pretty irate at them. So do you think we've not got enough bastards in the team, is my long story short?
Aye, I mean, you can't watch a game at the weekend and also any of our games pretty much this season and say that we aren't too soft. Like we're definitely too soft. We don't have enough aggression in our team. Full stop. That's a fact. That's for me. That's not even up for debate. Uh,
I totally agree
so
with you, but we're sitting here moaning the fact we've had two red cards in our last two games, and we're saying we're not aggressive
But
enough.
no, see,
No, I
see
know,
no,
the
but
but
thing
that's
is,
not
I know,
aggression.
I
That's
know, I
just
know what you mean.
stupidity.
No, I know, I
That's
know what
that's
you
the
mean.
thing that annoys. See if it was like flying in two-footed, then that's the type of thing that because the moment I always point to that I think won us a tie was when Dylan Levitt booted the ball against the boy against Luzerne, or was it John Yo? One of the two of them.
Joe
In the
Newell.
middle of the game, we were quite flat against Luzerne. One of them absolutely rocketed the ball off a boy for no reason, and the stadium went mental. The entire crowd were up for it. The whole team seemed amped after it, and we were untouchable for the rest of that game. That's
Yeah.
obviously not going to happen every single game, but momentum is such a massive thing, and we just never give ourselves
Aye.
opportunities to do it. I think we're getting a bit better at the like dark arts of sports, even though we can't hold out games because apparently when we get to the corner of the pitch, we can't trap the ball under our feet. But we'll not throw him under the bus because he's getting far too much abuse. But do you know what I mean? Like, we just need to be bastards. I just want to see people kind of jibbing in elbows at corners. I want to see people kicking them off the ball and getting away with it. It just doesn't happen.
Sorry, I'm just going to jump in and say that aggression for me in football doesn't necessarily mean
It doesn't have to be, yeah.
doesn't mean like
Just
going in late
smashing
on
into
somebody
folk.
and leaving the boot on somebody. That aggression in football doesn't mean that. Aggression in football is being like positively aggressive in the challenge. So when
Yeah,
you're going into a challenge, you're not going in kind of half-hearted and thinking to yourself, oh well, I'm just here like what I would if I was playing fives and I've got work the next day. I didn't really want to go in and stick my boot in
hmm
and maybe injure somebody else or maybe get injured myself or I didn't really fancy maybe taking a wee elbow in the face because I'm going to go in hard on this guy. Like aggression is in football is being positive and going in and believing you're going to win the ball and go in and get stuck in, get your shoulder in, go in at pace, fight for the ball. Not it doesn't just mean I'm going to go in and two-foot this boy to the chest and show a bit of an aggression. Like like
I
I say,
agree.
it's just being committed, being
I
committed.
agree, and I do think that I still think that Joe Newell is the player in our squad that does that, especially in derby matches against Celtic or Rangers. Harry, the example you cite is literally him. Like I do, and even the tackle that he got sent off for, I think he's obviously trying to make up um for a bad touch, but he's not striking out the tackle. He is going in hard, and obviously the follow through is just there. But uh, I still think he is the leader in that team. Whether you think he contributes enough or look, we had it for years with Paul Hanlon, Lewis Stevenson. We get the same shouts. Like we've had it consistently actually since David Gray stopped being since he stopped being the captain. That uh, that we always go to the captain. You know what I mean? It's their fault. It's their fault. It's their fault. Like he's not a leader. He shouldn't be this. He's the worst captain we've ever had. Blah 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 blah. Like it's it's a team. It's a squad game. And again, I'll go back to it. You shouldn't need your captain, or you shouldn't be waiting on someone else in your team to do that. You should have that pride in yourself to go in first, whether you're a winger and you're going up against a fullback, the first time you've got the ball, you want to take them on, be aggressive in your play, take them on, beat them, whatever. If you're a centre back, make sure you win your first headers. Everything, every little thing that you know can set the tone of a football match should all lead into that. And there is definitely a lack of that in the team just now because we've seen too many games this season, and I would include Saturday, where the first half's almost kind of drifted. Neither team's been great. It was probably the same against Motherwell, same on Saturday. It was definitely the same against, say, St Johnstone at Easter Road in the game that we won. The first 40 minutes was a bit of a non-event. It does feel like we're trying to ease ourselves into games instead of really being on the front foot and trying to win a game maybe inside the first 20 minutes, be a couple goals up and really, well, yeah, be aggressive in the game. It feels like we're trying to see our way into the games, and that probably comes, in my opinion, after the two badgings that we took um, against Celtic, and the early goals in the games, and then Dundee as well. I think we did sort of get what we've got battle scars from the two Celtic games and the Dundee games in terms of being too open at the start of a game and being punished. So I suppose I can understand it, and we do have a rookie manager for regardless of what you think. I think a lot of the things that we've seen from the manager can be explained and of him trying to learn from other games. So like I felt like after the Dundee game we did try to steady up a lot of the play. We went to Kelly with Triantis, Con and Newell in the middle of the pitch, and that felt like a really sort of workmanlike industrial midfield three that done well on what that done well in the game down at Kilmarnock. Like they competed well on a pitch that you can lose that midfield battle, but that was probably like the least amount of chances we've created in the whole season to that point. Like it feels like he is, in my opinion, he is trying to learn. And we went to Ibrox and we're definitely a lot more set up securely than we were at Celtic Park. He's then trusted that team to play against Motherwell. Like I don't know, like it's difficult. We're in a bad place, so that's for sure.
So whilst we're on David Gray then, so my main problem is the defence don't defend very well. The goalkeeper doesn't keep to the goal, never mind goalkeep. The midfield, in my opinion, is non-existent week in, week out. The only reason they get the balls because the opposition doesn't pressure them to take it off them, which I think the weekend was a great example of that. And I don't think we attack very well. Again, I get that the individuals he has at his disposal might not be the best. There's some people thrown out as our worst squad since relegation. Not sure if that's quite true, but the thing is, for me, sometimes you can get away with it slightly if there's any form of positives. Like Rudy, first couple of weeks of the season was a positive. He's kind of like petered out. Like he's young, so I'm not expecting him to be like lights out every week, but he's not as like flashy as we first thought he was. And what you got, the style of football, I know as you say it's teething problems and he's still getting used to it. I'm bored. I've not watched a Hibs game this season and been excited. I was at the St Johnstone game where we won. Like I enjoyed it, we won, but I wasn't excited at any point. Like Hibs aren't a fun team to watch, and we're not getting results to like compensate. Like I was ready at 91 minutes into that game, being like, we won, wasn't a great performance, but I'd much rather get a win on the board than have like be
Yeah.
happy watching it. But we're just not getting anything at the moment, and I think that's the reason why it's starting to compound so much on David Gray. But the thing I said the last 3 weeks, you beat Hearts this weekend, the whole thing flips on its head, and we go from this massive negative feeling that we've got at the moment. But the thing is, if we lose to Hearts and we started and we've got 5 points out of 27, like I just personally, the main reason that I'm like again, it's not just David Gray's fault because we'll touch on the other idiots that have actually, well, no, he's not an idiot. We'll touch on the actual idiots that have caused the problem that we're in. But I don't have anything to defend David Gray based off the substance we've seen so far, in my opinion. Like realistically, if you took it out and put blank manager in there that wasn't like club legend, I think everybody, including us, would be justifiably very, very angry. Like, I'm not saying David Gray gets away with it because he's David Gray, but that's essentially what I'm saying. Like, we'd be if we lose this weekend, we'd be one win, we'd be out this League Cup as early as possible, essentially. We'd be
Well, it's
bottom
not
of the
as early
league.
as possible because we got through the groups.
We got through the group stage against lower league opposition and lost one of those games. It's not good enough. Like, let's not try
No,
and keep that as a positive.
it's not as early as
Um,
possible.
all right, well, let's get Rocky Bashiri to be ineligible for a game and then we can get knocked out instead. But do you see what I'm saying though? Like my main things for a Hibs manager, you need to one, either do well in the League or Cups. If you do really well in one, then you can get away with doing slightly worse in the other. You need to have do okay in the big games. So against Celtic and Rangers, I don't want to watch us getting pumped and same as Aberdeen. And then you need to do well in the Derby. Realistically, he's failed at the League and Cup. Realistically, he's against Rangers that was an alright performance, but the two Celtic games were drab. I just think David Gray needs at least a draw against Hearts. Otherwise, what have we got at the moment to back him? I know he's like raw and I know he's new, but it's like if someone says to me, "Why should Hibs keep David Gray?" I because it's too new and because we sacked a million managers is the reason. Like I don't have any. He's
It's
not
fine.
shown anything so far, in
Yeah,
my opinion.
But that is
Harry,
valid, Harry. It's eight.
yeah,
Like
I was going to say that is a valid reason.
it's 8 games. We're 8 games into a 38 game season. In my opinion, we have a squad that's not better than it was. I think he's managing a weaker squad now than he was when he's in an interim charge in the split. I genuinely believe that. At least in the sort of final third, you could. Like, I think I'd happily sort of go through it. I think Bursick's a poorer goalkeeper than David Marshall was. I think I'm comfortable in that. I think the centre backs are probably an upgrade on what we were getting from Fish and Rocky at the end of last season. I think they probably still are. I know it sounds really, really strange to say that the centre backs are an upgrade, even though we're shipping goals. I'm not actually 100% sure that they've directly been at fault for too many of them. Full backs are the same. Triantes is the same. Playing the same role when this.
Wait, sorry to jump in, but the argument there are the fullback. Like again, I'm not saying it's just David Gray's fault, but the fullbacks are it's the same players, but they're playing worse. Like I think it's fair
Yeah,
to
no,
say
that's no, no,
Abita
that's what I'm
and
saying.
Miller were better last
I'm
season.
no,
Yeah,
I'm telling you why the
yeah,
squad's
okay.
poorer. Like, but in fact, no, it's even better. Kobita is playing worse than he was last year. Like, that's definitely true. Jan isn't an upgrade on himself. Just like Kwon had a couple good games to start. Um, he's on. I thought he was really poor against Motherwell. Didn't really do much against Dundee United, but hopefully looks a good player. Um, if Rudy's playing in the 10, he's not better than Marcondes. Hoylett, for however well he's done, isn't better than Maizan. Boyle is still Martin Boyle, and Kukrevich right now doesn't look an upgrade on Dylan Vente. I don't think there's an obvious player in there that you could hang your hat on and say right now in our strongest 11 they are better than the alternate that we would have had at the end of last season. So that alone for me tells me that David Gray isn't solely to blame. We've got a new recruitment structure in place that clearly hasn't worked this year. The sporting director wants to punt this season down, just wants to get through this season to get rid of however many players it is, 14 players or however many more. We've got countless players that are actually playing week in, week out that are either out of contract for next season or are on loan. So if they're deemed not good enough for Hibs next season, then what does that say about them this season? Like if they're not going to be good enough for what we want to do next year, then how exactly are they good enough to do anything this year? We've not heard any of the usual noise about top four in the cups and top four in the league, and I think that's exactly because they know that the squad they've given the manager is not good enough to compete for that, in my opinion. I think the start of the season we've had is about right for the squad that we've got, minus probably a couple of points. And then I would counter that with saying David Gray doesn't make Bursitt come to punch Iredale in the head. He doesn't make Jordan Obita smash Bruce Anderson. There's 3 points in the last 30 seconds of games that actually would have you sitting seventh in the league if you had them, with games in hand on the team below you. So I, I just he's not immune from criticism. I think his lineups have probably been too defensive in the last two games. Earlier in the season, I think he made some suspect substitutions, like I thought he brought Rocky on too quickly against Dundee, and it did put us on the back foot at a time when we really looked like we were actually going to get a third goal to kill the game. So that's a criticism, but I think he's been dealt a poor hand at a club that's got massive expectations from a sporting director and CEO and owner, whoever is actually setting this out, that have under prepped him for what the expectations are. And if their expectations are internally that anything above 10th is acceptable this year, then communicate it. Because if this squad is clearly deemed not good enough for next season, then it cannot be deemed good enough for this season. It's not like they're young players that are, you know what I mean? Like there's players in the peak of their careers that are out of contract. Like is Lewis Miller going to be good enough for us next year? If he is, then why have we not already got him on a longer deal? Is Chris Carring's still going to be here next year? Is Martin Boyle going to be here next year? Like if any of these players were deemed good enough for next year, they would have got a new deal at the same time as Newell, Obita. Do you know what I mean? So what is the manager supposed to do? Yeah, we probably could have had another few points here and there, but I would say maybe the Dundee game has changed cost us, but Kelly, individual errors, Motherwell, individual errors, Dundee United, individual errors. I'd
Could you
really,
not also say though that this two like the thing is, as soon as Neil gets himself sent off, I think you can't really blame it on the manager because you're down to 10. But Campbell and Levitt, I
but who
don't,
else is he going to bring on in that
I just don't
situation?
understand Levitt though. I just
They're the
like
right. So we've already got three centre halves on the pitch. He's not going to bring on a fourth. He's got one central midfielder on the pitch, and the two central midfielders he's got on the bench are Campbell and Levitt. What are you proposing otherwise? To not make any changes? Or are you going to bring on Ellie Yuan or Harry McCurdy to try and see out a game? Because
I'd probably
that's
just bring on
do,
Campbell and leave it at that. But fair point.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like the only other central midfielder on the pitch at that point is Quan. Is that right? Aye, Quan. Like, like what actually he's got? You're not going to leave two strikers on when you're down to 10 men and you're winning a game. He's got Boyle playing at right wing back because your two other right back choices, one's been subbed off, rightly so, and the other one's got a knock. Like, and this is why I don't. I've seen him. Look, I tweeted. I own it. I tweeted saying if you think David Gray's the problem at Hibs, then you're a simpleton, and that's because it's a simple train of thought. That's going. Results aren't great. Must be head coach. Look a little bit at what's driving that. See the amount of people that came back saying, "Well, if he keeps picking Josh Campbell, he's not very good." Well, who's he picking ahead of him? Like, do you know what I mean? Josh Campbell has played, I think, the appropriate amount of minutes this season for the amount he's been required. Our first choice midfield would be Newell, Kwon, and Triantis, in my opinion. The only time they've all been available, they've played. I think that's what he sees as his first three, just in my opinion, right? After that, I would play Campbell before I played Levitt, especially in this league, and especially in situations where you're down to 10 men or whatever. You know what I mean? He's not been good, but everyone's going on about these subs that he's making on. Who the fuck is he supposed to bring on? We've all wrote off the rest of them. What are we saying? Harry McCurdy's now the answer to see out a game at 10 men. Honestly, like,
Uh,
that's what I don't
Was
understand.
was Mariah Welsh on the bench at the weekend?
No,
No. Has he been injured? What's happened to him?
fuck knows.
He's just dropped off the face of earth.
And
To be
then
honest, I actually
Amos
think
as well, eh?
He was,
he's been kind of guy that's looked like he wanted to defend in the past. Mariah Welsh, maybe he wouldn't have
he came
been
on
such a
it.
bad
He
idea.
came on against Motherwell as well, so maybe he does have a knock. I don't know, but do you know what, like, what's he doing bringing this guy on? What's he meant to fucking do? Just do nothing. The same folk that are saying he shouldn't bring Campbell on are the same people that are saying he should have taken Newell off. You physically can't have both.
Look, I'll just chime in on what you said. I
Sorry.
actually think he's spot on with a lot of what he's been saying so far. Like, I don't think you're wrong. I agree that Gray definitely isn't with or shouldn't be without criticism because as a manager in charge of a club with the run that we're on just now, it's inevitable you are going to be deservedly uh, hit with some criticism. Like that's just a fact. However, what I would say to everybody or not say to them, but for people that are looking to get rid of Gray, maybe we're at a stage now with Hibs where surely we can all see that it isn't just a manager's fault at this point in time. We've been through too many managers in the last year or two to endlessly point blame at the manager when it goes wrong. There's clearly deeper issues at Hibs, and that was apparent when we sacked the last manager and the manager before that. That was apparent then, and it's just rumbled on and on and on. And every time whoever's making these decisions is directing blame at previous managers or previous setups or whatever
Aye.
it is. And
Can I ask you both, just with what you're saying there, Craig, about the error, and Harry, I'll get your thoughts as well. But do you remember when the season we went down, Terry Butcher in January told all the players that they weren't required and they didn't have a future at the club, and then he ended up having to rely on them to play. See, when our sporting director comes in and one of the first interviews he does, he talks about how this is going to be 12 months and we can clear the decks when all the players are out of contract and all that. And then he does the same thing at the end of the transfer window. If that's the person that our ownership and our CEO have put entire trust and entire faith in the footballing operation, is that not going to send alarm bells ringing through the squad? Is that in itself not going to send the wrong message
maybe.
through a training centre, through a dressing room, through a locker room, Harry? Do you know what I mean? Like, it was cataclysmic that Terry Butcher done that in the January. It ripped
Mhm.
that dressing room apart, and I'm not saying it can have the same impact, but that is, whether we like it or not, Mackay is the head honcho on the football inside of this football club. And he has basically turned round and said, can he wait for next summer when all these fannies are gone?
Yeah, there's a bit of a parallel to that, to be fair. So
And now, like, do you know what I mean? Like, all the messaging in the summer, do you know, like, next year, next year, next year. What about this year? Because we brought Malky Mackay in because he knows the Scottish game. Well, anyone that knows the Scottish game kens that no club's too big, no club's too good. And genuinely, if you go on like a bad drunken snowball, and before you know it, you're really in the shit.
yeah, I would say it's a valid point on this whole squad. But if you actually look at even the players that started at the weekend, there's probably not a lot of them that applies to. Maybe.
Well, Bursick's out of contract.
Yeah,
Bursick's
I know,
not going
but
to be here.
he's been brought to the club this season. He's not. Mackay, I think, was
As
on
a
about the
short
folk that
term,
have been
but
here
as a
and
short
are going to be
term
leaving.
as a short term solution to get us through a year though.
Yeah,
Like we go back to the fucking 2012 Cup final, and we had too many loan players. So if you just go through the team for the weekend, the goalkeeper's not contracted next season. The right back's not contracted next season. The one of the central midfielders isn't contracted next season. The left winger's not contracted next season. The striker's not contracted next season, and the right winger's not contracted next season. The right winger's replacement isn't contracted for next season. The striker that came off the bench isn't contracted for next season. Like,
Can I read out a listener comment that I think's quite good? Dan Taylor, he's on private, so if you don't follow him, unlucky. But he said two Scottish clubs in an almost identical position last season both conducted an internal review. One involved a thorough and proper process, while the other ignored the advice of an experienced owner or multi-club network and and, resulted in the appointment of the chairman's best mate. Like, I don't care what anybody says. I know Malky's got this big wealth of experience. What's he done at a football club, like in a sporting director role? Like, has he got experience that he can literally be like, I did this for a specific team, and this is a success that they had?
I think they're
Like,
looking at a
has he?
lot of the
Like,
stuff
that's a
they've done at
genuine
the
question. Has he?
SFA. I think
So,
they're
so,
looking
so
at
for a
that as the
club, no.
transferable.
But for a
No,
club,
Harry,
has he? No.
look,
And
Harry,
like
the
the thing
first
is,
thing I
on
said,
that point, sorry, but
sorry,
one thing for me, and I don't like again, this isn't me trying to like call out David Gray because it's not. If we'd taken the advice of BKFC and they'd put in a manager and they'd given us a director of football and they'd pumped money in, I have no doubt in my mind we'd be pretty in fourth. They would have brought in much higher caliber players than we brought in. They would have put money in that we could have spent on the squad, and I think we would have had an experienced manager that would do better than someone in their
so you
first season in charge of a basket.
just to
Can I
be,
finish? Can I
yeah, no, I
finish?
was being, no, I'm
Yeah.
asking, are you saying that if we listened to them, they'd have given us more funds? Or are
If
you saying
Yeah,
that whoever
they
they
they would have
wanted
let us
would do a
spend the
better?
funds. There was this
I,
whole mythical thing of like 5, 6 million they were going to inject in the club. Where's that money being spent? We got
well, so
Bowie, great. He's obviously unfortunately injured, but where's the rest of the money gone? Like Foley literally went on about how pissed off he was that he wasn't listened to. If we'd listened to them, that money would have been ours. They would have spent. And I'm not like we keep
the money,
banging on and
the
on
money came in,
about
Harry. The money was no,
please,
but the money
please let
was
me. But
invested.
can I please finish when I'm
Sorry.
speaking to you? But we keep banging on and on about how shit the league is. Every week we come on and we're like, oh, we're not going to get relegated because everybody else is so shit. At the moment, we're the bottom of the shoe. We're fucking shit. And if we'd had someone that, like, within their network had provided the expertise to bring in these players, like Ben Kensel had promised, we weren't going to be signing loan players. We were going to get players that would help us for the future. We wouldn't be in this mess. And again, that's not even me taking shots at Mackay or Gray. That's just me saying, if you're going to join some form of like football equivalent pyramid scheme, at least commit to it. Don't just put your toe in the water and jump out. Like it's just so stupid. I just don't get it. The Premier League in the Scottish football, as we've all agreed, is one of the weakest it's been in the last 5 or 6 years, which is saying something because we've said there's been some pretty poor seasons. But as we said, between like fourth, fifth to bottom, you've got a lot of shit in there. And we're currently bottom of the shit. And that's because poor recruitment and poor leadership from the top down.
Yep.
Does my head in. I just wanted to say that.
So
There we go.
I was sorry, I wasn't interrupting to disagree. I
Right.
was just clarifying. Are you saying had we listened to them, we'd have got more funds made available to us? Because if that's what you're saying, then
I
sure, I can
think
get on board with your
I think
hypothetical situation.
if
But
we'd listened to them, I think we would have seen more effective first team football investment across the
so
whole of the first team.
the funds that were the money that was invested has been invested. It has been spent. It's not that, the shares have been bought. The money has changed hands, if you like. It was signposted for very specific things, is my understanding on what's been communicated and through various conversations and such like. Uh, There was money, and that was what was needed to get through SFA approval as well. It had to be X amount goes to the women's team, X amount goes for infrastructure, X amount goes to first team finances, blah 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 blah. So if the question is, had we went with Black Knight's managerial appointment, but we were left with the same squad, no, I think we'd be in a fairly similar position because I don't think Black Knights would have just as a footballing group. I don't think they'd have went for everyone says we need an experienced manager. I'm assuming they're including experienced in the league and that. I don't think Black Knights would have told us to go and get Derek McInnes for argument's sake. I still think they would have went for younger, sort of out there appointment, as opposed, so obviously David Gray is a fairly safe appointment in the sense he was in house. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I don't think I don't think that the squad is set up to do much more than it is currently. Because, by the way, we're bottom of the league, but we've played actually a game less than I think the five teams directly above us, and like we are literally we are splitting hairs over 1, 2 points. You know what I mean? It's not like we're fucking cut. You know what I mean? Like I know it's a bad situation, but we're no cut adrift at the bottom of the league after 8 games. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it is shite.
Mm.
Let's not get away for that. But like, we're no sitting here going, "Oh my god!" Like, I still don't think we'll get relegated. I'm not. I think the squad's bad, but bad if you want to be in the top six, which is what should be the minimum expectation. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's fucking hell. We're not going to win a game the rest of the season, and you know what I mean? Like, I'm not there yet, but it's it's an interesting point, Harry, around the Black Knights, and maybe it is getting to the point where, I mean, they're a minority shareholder, but
One other point I'll make on it, and again, this might be me just not reading into it enough or not understanding enough, but as soon as we heard any form of Bill Foley getting involved, the two key signings we got in January were Maulida and Marcondes. Like, if I'm not mistaken, as soon
was
as he was
Merida not
rumoured,
before it?
that's
I don't know. I
but
can't
that's the
remember.
types of players that were instantly coming to
Yeah,
us.
no, 100%.
Like,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's what I'm saying. So coming into the summer, I don't think it's unfair to say we were all expecting a couple extra coups. And
Yes, yeah,
We
no
were
yeah.
offense to
told
the
to
players,
expect
so
that.
like
We
that,
weren't just expecting
yeah,
it. We were told to.
exactly. So what I'm trying to get at is, I think that whatever's happened in some form of conversation, I think we've pissed them off, and that's like we've cut off our
Uh,
nose to spite our
yeah.
face type gig.
They also hired a new group director after the window, I think, or
Ah,
as
but
in.
I actually don't think that that's got fuck all to do with Hibs, to be honest. I actually don't think that's going to affect us. Do you know what I mean? That realistically shouldn't affect Hibs. And I just like to circle back to what Harry said earlier about I don't necessarily agree with you that we would have got any more money, but I definitely think there's an argument in there to say that the money would have been spent a lot more
Better.
wisely because
Yeah, yeah. So
over
that
over
that's what I was
the
trying to say. I probably said more, but I meant yeah.
Ah, over the past, but that's not a problem that's exclusive to this year, Harry. That's been a problem that's been every year for the last what 3, 4 seasons. So basically, since the Gordons came in, the footballing department, the money
Post-COVID, I
hasn't
would
been spent
suggest.
wisely. The amount of money that's been invested in the footballing side doesn't concern me whatsoever. In fact, I would go as far to say that I'm happy with the money that's been invested in the playing side
Yeah,
because before that we've never really seen that type of money being invested in our playing side. You know, spent money on Yuan, Levitt, Bowie, and more,
yeah.
Boyle,
Benty
all these
Nelson.
types of guys.
I know, yeah,
So
the list does go
we're
on.
spending plenty of money. The main issue is how we've been spending it. It's been so foolish. The very fact that our owner is coming out and saying that he's having to personally fucking bail us out in a fairly mid to long term sense of
Mhm.
a whole season. Oh, I'm going to cover the extra money that we're spending on the playing squad because we've got a bloated squad. That's what I said. Our squad is so bloated that we're spending too much money on it over the budget on players that aren't even fucking playing. They're not even in the squad. They're
Yeah.
training with
Not even
the
in the
under
first team
the,
dressing room.
they're playing with the development team. So that screams to absolute chronic mismanagement. And I'm not talking about literally the manager, the head coach. I'm talking about mismanagement of the entire footballing department.
Mhm.
The money that we have been made available to us has been spent horrendously. That's a fact. And
I
now,
think,
because it's been done over so many seasons, we now find ourselves in a position where it's been built up season on season on season on season. And now we're in this scenario where we've got so many players that just aren't good enough.
yeah.
Aren't good enough.
Craig, do you think though that, well, and I think we've all made our thoughts clear on this at various points, but do we then have to say, well, they have made the change in the summer? It's only October. They've only had one transfer window. Maybe I'm looking at it in the wrong sense and saying we've signed more stop gaps. Like, is it a case where we have to go, well, we just have to see how this one goes? Be
But
like,
sorry, we are definitely in the position now where I can't remember, one of you said it earlier, where we're looking to next season And obviously the players are aware of that. The players that are here that know they're not going to be here next season are aware of that. So we are basically just waiting for next season. As far as I understand, as to Malky Mackay, he was in too late in the summer to implement this new process that we're being told about. So there's a bit
Did
of a
you not
waiting
join in
game there.
May?
He started on the 1st of June, aye.
1st of June, and apparently that's too late to implement whatever process it is because they'll be scouting players for months before any moves are made in a transfer window. That's what I would say, and that's offering them a reluctant defence, I would say. So maybe their whole
The ones that
argument
they
will be
scouted in the short term, maybe are they good enough? Maybe they do need a year
their
to
whole
quality
argument
check.
will be oh you just need to wait. But the problem with that is that Hibs fans have already been waiting 2 or 3 seasons, and it's very, very, very difficult for them to tell an entire fan base that supports a team that's losing all the time, oh,
Yeah,
I just
that's it.
just 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 wait another 6 months and we'll be all right. Like that's a very difficult thing to do.
So do you think they just on that, like, as a fan base, what do you think we need? Because I was so shocked at the outrage that went the manager's way after Saturday. Genuinely, like, I didn't think much. You think you've seen a lot of different stuff and, supporting football clubs and following it as closely as we do. But I do really hope that it is just social media screams louder than anything else. And I hope that the general vibe and feeling in the stadium on Sunday isn't as negative towards towards the head coach as it felt online on Saturday night. But if everything we're saying tonight is right, and it is, we just need to get through the next season. What do you think we actually need to see though on the pitch for the fan base to go, well, David Gray still deserves next season? And we're talking about next season now. Like,
You obviously need to see enough results.
but then if he's not been given the tools,
Yeah, I know, but see the thing is in this league, I think every team you see the same thing year on year with the teams that are in the sort of bottom 7 or 8 of the league. Like every single team in that thing goes on a bad run and then
yep.
goes on a good run for a while. Like it happens every single year. So
Was it Motherwell didn't win for 19 games and finish seventh for Sunday?
yeah, I'm not saying that we're going to go on and run
No,
and
I know, I know.
win 10 games in a row or anything, but I think we will have a point at some stage in the season where we'll go on a bit of a better run. Things look all extremely doom and gloom now, but I think it will come back around at some point. But
Be a good
obviously, it's
laugh
very
when we win on
difficult to see
Sunday.
that. No,
Good laugh when
it's
we win
very
on
difficult to
Sunday.
see it when you're
3 points ahead of them with a game in hand, and all will be rosy in the garden
aye, so it will.
for another week.
Until the Tuesday, bastards.
Is it that Tuesday night we're playing? Is it?
I
Ross
think it's
County on
Wednesday, is
Tuesday.
it
Is
not?
it the
I thought
Wednesday?
was it Wednesday? I thought
Nah,
it was
surely it's
Tuesday.
the Wednesday if it's the
Oh
Sunday.
yeah, no, you're right. I'm stupid.
Agreed.
Aye. A couple of comments that made me laugh. Scott Sakuru said, Hibs are doomed until the quadrangle leaves, essentially. Since the moment the Grand Review decided to hire the chairman's out of work mate as the solution to all our problems, we've been on a trajectory straight down. Depends at what point the Gordons decide they've had enough. I thought it was funnier when I started reading it.
I
Turned out
think there
not to
is
be.
there should be a chain of thought or a train of thought, but excuse me, that maybe they do need to hand over a little bit more of the running of the football operations to the Black Knights. But I think those in position of power are too stubborn currently. Do you know how, like, is that I believe that's what they've done in Manchester United, and they also are a 25% shareholder, but they're absolutely running the show. Doing a grand old job, should I add?
Mm,
But
they're brilliant, aye.
I do think, Harry, that they're right. I think, and I don't know. I try to put myself in the position of a millionaire. I know I've got millions and millions of pounds, but I can't like losing it surely. So surely at some point I want to say to someone else, here, you try and spend it better than me, and then they have me running at a loss every year. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Aye. Just to say, it's the same thing though with Bill Foley when obviously when he comes out in the media, right? And then folk are going Raj after it, saying like, "Well, how dare Bill Foley question David Gray and Malcolm Mackay and all of these appointments and the appointments that the board have made?" And I'm like, "Well, this guy's just pumped 6 million quid, and I don't care how much money you've got. If you put £6 million into something, you're
You
you're
think you're
going to be
gonna
pissed
say,
off if they just ignore you and don't
aye,
do what you're saying or do what you're suggesting or whatever, or don't even listen to your suggestions. It stinks right now that Hibs are going to be like a tail between the legs, cap in hand, and go back to Black Knight and say, "Oh, we're sorry, we should have listened to you." Like that's what
aye.
it looks like at the moment.
The
But
only thing I can see potentially on that is Black Knights have two seats on the board, don't they? But I don't know if they could potentially go down the route of, was it a vote of no confidence or something like that? But I feel like the rest of the board are fairly tight knit with who's the other guy that got more shares out of it? Oh, I can't mind his name. You know,
him.
I, I don't think even that would go very far. Anyway, Harry, what else have we got?
Well, I suppose we've been going on for about an hour now, lads. So I suppose we should talk about the fact they've got a derby at the weekend. We've kind of touched on it briefly, but
Aye.
so we reached out. We asked everybody what they wanted to do and how we could win this one. Liam Young made some good points, some other points within this one sentence, maybe not so good. He said 4-4-2, play our best players, i.e. you and Boyle with Galen Kukarevich up top. Um, don't mind it, but one thing I was going to touch on is I think it's at the stage for Gray where the team's been that shit. You just need to pick the players that have got the highest ceiling and hope that they perform. In my opinion, I think that Yuan needs to start. I think Gale's a better footballer than Big Mick, so I think he needs to start. I think Miller needs to not be in the team. As I say, I think the obvious thing to do is Hoyle it through the middle so he can connect with Yuan. I think that's the likelihood that where we're going to get the best out of both of them. Um, so for me, I just think it's literally look at who your best player is at each position available and just put them on the pitch and hope that they work well together because I don't think that there's enough
Sounds like a solid
continuity
plan.
in
It's a
the
mad
team and
concept,
what we're
Harry. You're
trying to
onto
do.
something there.
You're
But
Place
you're my
players in the
best
no,
best
right
but
back.
position.
I'm going to
but
play you
see,
at
see,
right
the thing
back.
is, in some teams, like if he hadn't been as off form, to be polite, as he's been of late, this would have been the type of game that I wouldn't have minded seeing Josh Campbell playing. I think that you need energy in derbies, but I think he's been that poor. I wouldn't actually want to see him play and potentially not even feature. So for me, I'd rather him not play. So
Yep.
like, I understand when at times you don't play your best players because you're wanting to play a certain way. But Yuan needs to start. Like I don't think it's a question. If he's fit, he starts. It should be as
He's fit.
simple as that. Like,
Absolutely. I would have if he was fit on Saturday, he should have started. Like there is either something going on with him fitness wise, or there's something else. I don't know what's going on because I would have expected him to be getting more minutes by now. If he's in a match day squad, surely he's ready to play. And I
Aye.
would have expected him to have played at some point on Saturday, regardless of the position we were in the game. Because I think, because if you, but the thing is, I know I understand why you're screwing your face
Aye.
up there, but if we're 2-1 up in the game, we should be going for it. We
I
should be
agree.
going to
I
for it to get
agree.
a third. And I feel if you make a positive substitution and put a player like Yuan on and try and get us on the front foot rather than sitting in and being a team that at the moment that is so low in confidence that we all know that there's no chance we're going to stay at a lead. So why not do the opposite? Let's
Mhm.
try and go be on the front foot and be a bit more attacking.
Yeah.
Uh, but just given all the negativity, I would like to point out a couple of positives from Saturday if I'm allowed to. Uh,
oh
if
lad,
if if it's if positivity is permitted tonight. Uh, First one, Gale, Harry touched on him a wee bit. I'd like to see him start at the weekend. I actually thought he was very, very bright. Came on, showed a wee bit
Cool.
of desire, was chasing about the place, closing down. I liked what he said after the game as well about them being too nice. I feel like you've got maybe listen to a striker like that with a lot of experience, being in a lot of dressing rooms and a lot of clubs, he'll know his stuff. Also, Boyle. I thought Boyle was quite bright on Saturday as well. I thought there was a couple of times where he looked back more like Boyle. So for me, both of them start. If Ewan is fit, I don't care what his mentality is, get him in and tell him to go and show himself off. Be flashy, get an Instagram highlight reel.
Mhm.
can I just throw out there? There was one point where Gale lost the ball at about their right back position, and he recovered it at about our right back position.
Yep.
And that is the moment that I
Put
fell
out
in
for a
love with
throw.
Dwight Gale. I was like, that is an absolute player. So yeah, start him. I think Craig's spot on. I do think that Boyle, the last couple of times he's played, has looked a bit brighter than he had before, which is nice. The big question for you is, I think you used to know where I stand on it. Goalkeeper situation. Do we bite the bullet and start Jordan Smith, or do you just have to stick with Bursic at this point?
You've got to stick with me. I actually see with goalkeepers. I think you can't. I think you almost can't drop them after something like that. I think you've
Start
almost got.
Boric. Yeah, man. Done well in the last derby.
Clean sheet.
And done stunk the gaff out for fucking Arbroath when he was there.
Aye.
I think I still start him. Look, we don't know if Smith's good or bad, but he's made a living out of being a number two goalkeeper. Um, and I've got to be honest, it was something I noticed at the Motherwell game. See when they were doing the wee rondos and shit at half time, he just looked like the most like coach football player you've ever seen. Like the rest of them just had like obviously the training gear on and that, but were sprightly and that. He had like the big fucking puffer jacket on, the leggings on. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, just looked like he just was like, this is a piece of. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's so comfortable just no being involved, and I don't think going into a game of this stature. Excuse me. I think I might have came off mute there before I even finished the cough. But I think he I think changing the goalkeeper going into a game like this is wrong. I think it sends out the wrong message. I think that atmosphere is still better if we're like, fuck, what's Bursic gonna do? Instead of going, shit, who the fuck is this keeper? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I just think it sends the wrong message out potentially. Although, again, we'll never know if he's any good unless he
Yeah, bold
plays.
decision that, a really bold
Aye.
decision and a difficult decision to make because I think it would have an impact uh, probably greater than just that game.
Yeah,
Uh,
if you drop a
like,
goalkeeper after that mistake, he's not coming in the week later, is he?
yeah, but it is also probably he wouldn't be getting dropped just for that mistake. Like, I think there's probably been a few.
I
Uh,
concur. You were batting for him against Motherwell.
no, well, I don't think he was at fault for the goal against Motherwell. That's what I argued. I didn't actually say he was a great goalkeeper or anything. Listen, you actually said it in the group chat. We all try to be positive and
Yeah, no,
say
of course.
players are great. You try and stick up for them and fight their corner a wee bit, but I think there comes a point, it's particularly with the one at the weekend, where you can't really fight his corner.
Aye.
You've got to say it's a houler, like.
I think you
But
are both correct, though, Harry, in general. I think we need to try and just get as many of our best attacking option players on the pitch. Look, I will live and die off every word David Gray says while he's Hibs manager, and I've said it on countless occasions. I'll never ask for him to be sacked. Never. I just won't do it. Simple as that. Don't care. Don't care what I've said about previous Hibs managers or anything, but I won't do it. And but he has picked too defensive a team the last couple of games. I said it before the Motherwell game, so he needs to try and let the he needs to try and let them loose a little bit. Boyle on one side, Yuan on one side, the other side if it's possible. Maybe even keep Hoylett in there, a little bit more centrally or that. I would be tempted and maybe half think we might see 3-5-2. If it is 3-5-2, maybe Boyle at right wing back. Like two strikers. I thought we looked better in the game when actually Kukurevich and Gale were up there together at Tannadice. So I think realistically, 3-5-2 is the only way you get two strikers on in this league because we've seen for large, large periods last year that two midfielders just get overrun week in, week out. So I wouldn't surprise me to see 3-5-2, and then I would play Boyle as the right wing back and make that in itself a bit of a statement, I think, as like a front
That's a
foot
big
move.
statement. Liam's punching the screen currently at the mention of formations.
Formations.
Uh,
Okay.
but
Can I just throw it there? No, you go, Craig.
no, Karen.
I was just going to say, I think Abita has sneakily actually been pretty solid the last few games, putting a peachy across
Good ball.
as
It
well.
was a good
Beautiful
So,
ball.
cross.
because I don't, if I'm not mistaken, all the goals actually came from the other side. Um, at the weekend.
Do you know what I love actually? Do you know what, I mean, he was fucking sleeping for was it the offside goal? Um,
Oh, yeah, aye. Oof.
but
Him
Good
and
stuff, man.
O'Hora were like high
Getting
fiving each other and
started.
not paying attention.
do you know
Uh,
what I really enjoy just in as football in general? I think we would all describe the three goals that Hibs conceded as soft as fuck. All you have to do is put the ball in our box and you'll score. That's exactly what we done at Dundee United for both goals.
I know, but see the
Like
second one though, when
it was a
Miko comes
great
out.
ball in and good
I
goal,
actually,
but
I actually said to myself at the time, as soon as Miko goes out, I was like, this ball's going to have to be absolutely pinpoint because we had, I think it was maybe Gale and was it Molotnikov or something? It was another
uh,
small player in the box, and I was like, this has to literally land on somebody's head if we're going to do
it
anything
does.
here. And it literally, it's perfect ball. Like I actually don't think the Dundee United players are that at fault for that one. I mean, it's a cross into the box, so they
And he's
obviously
wide
should
open at the
defend it
back
better.
post, but it's a fantastic look from my point of view. It's a great goal, but it's just funny. Like Hibs
Yeah.
score a goal, that's fucking excellent. Hibs
No, but
concede a goal, that's fucking awful.
let's be clear about it though. You said when Hibs at the weekend Hibs conceded 3 goals, we conceded 4. We just got lucky that one of them was offside. Like that's pure luck.
just to say,
He
at
was
first I was like, oh,
offside though,
that's yeah, no, it was a good like yard and a half. He was. I don't know
No,
how
I
it
know,
took them
but
that long to come up with it.
listen, that's not as
what
a
happens
result of
in the
us playing
box.
anybody offside or anything like that. That's just
Oh,
I
I
think
don't
that's
know. I
luck.
think they've, oh, and it
And you
is the
still defend
basics
the
of
situation
football.
so poorly.
I think the offside line's good. They all come out as a very good line. But I would say,
Ah,
Craig,
come
what
on.
happens? No, but
Oh,
what
it's a great
happens?
line. Oh, I
No,
love
but
that
they
line.
no like
Oh,
it's part of defending. Do you know what I mean? Like it is.
Yes.
But you are also right in saying that when the ball comes in the box, he's no offside, and Obita is sleeping. And so I don't know if it's lucky. Like I think if Hibs scored a disallowed goal, we didn't say it's unlucky. We say it's a stupid cunt for being offside. Like, do you know what I mean?
aye. All right. Well, let's quickly build a team. I'll start, and you guys jump in if you think I'm wrong anywhere. So I'm going to do the more conventional one as opposed to my one. I sent Beck's one. I sent you guys one earlier as well with Rocky Bashiri in goals. But I don't think that's actually going to happen. So we'll stick Bursic in goals just because, as you say, that would be the end of his career if it wasn't. And then back four the same, apart from we'll put Cadden back to right back if he's fit. Are we agreed there?
Yeah, probably just.
Midfield's going to be a two of Triantis and Kwon, and then you're going to have Hoylett ahead of them, and then each wing you're going to have Yuan and Boyle, and then you're going to stick. Um, I'd personally go Gale up top because I think he's more likely to score. I just think Big Mick. I still don't know how to say his new name. I think Big Mick's just.
Kukarovic, is that right?
Aye. The only way I would start him is if Gale's up with him. I wouldn't start him on his own
I
because he's
agree.
not. He's pointless.
And I would have concerns with Gale being up there himself, if I'm being totally honest.
I think he works harder though.
I don't, that's fine. I'm thinking when we've got the ball and we're looking to
Aye.
create and like, do you know, like I didn't like, I don't think Kukarovic, what, we really need to actually get clarification on that because how he ordered
Big
it.
Mick, Big
For
Mick.
the reasons that he's changed his name as well, like we should probably
Aye.
find out. But I don't think he doesn't work hard. I just think when we've got the ball and we get it to him, he's isolated, or he's not, or he's not close enough to the play to be involved. So I don't know. I think try and get two strikers on the pitch and
Yeah.
try and have a go, which I do think that dictates that you play a back three. Whether I don't know whether he stumbled upon it with Cadden's injury or if it was an intentional move, but we moved to three at the back at the weekend, and we did look better. Especially when Dwight Gill came on as well. For that period of the game, we were the better
No, I know what you mean.
we were the better side. I
So Craig's currently thinking Liam's crying tears of frustration and Greg is crying tears of joy because 352 has been mentioned.
No, I'm just going. If we're going to talk about formations, to be fair, I actually don't know how Hearts play, how many midfielders they play with, but generally in this league, you need 3 midfielders in. But mate, Quan and Triantis in the middle, Boyle and Yuan on either side, the two up top. Big Mick, I'm sorry, but he just doesn't have a first touch to be a target man striker. His first touch lets him down so often. There was a
Yep.
couple at the weekend, sort of we were behind the goal, so as we looked at him, he was running to the right hand side, and he tries to take a touch under pressure, and it just balloons off his foot. Like for me, if you're going to be a target man, obviously your main job is to score a goal. You're a striker at the end of the day, but your main realistic job is to at least hold the ball up,
Yeah.
and he just doesn't do that. And maybe in a two, he would be able to flick things on or go for first time balls to Gale with a wee bit of support. So listen, if I was making tactical decisions for Hibs, I'd be getting paid a lot more money. Uh, but
I mean,
I'd maybe just go
McCurdy's
4-4-2.
Butchers doesn't pay well, no.
No, it's but not as fucking well as Hibs.
You'd be
Definitely
surprised.
not.
Well, boys, this is going to be my favorite part of the show because I've been singing lyrics to you of relegation and championship football next year, and we've all been throwing the toys at the pram saying that 10th is probably the ceiling that we're feeling is realistic at the moment. However, we're going to give
6
our
nil
score
Hibs.
predictions, and it's going to make me feel great. You know what? I've spoken myself round. I've spoken myself round. I've went that far down. I've actually started coming up the other side. So I'm feeling positive about Hibs now. It's great. I feel rejuvenated. I've got it out of my system. 3-1. 3-1. Big Mac's going to start. I'm going to be annoyed that he's starting. He's going to get the first goal. They're going to equalise. I'm going to be like, here we go again. Thanks, Hibs. And then boom, Big Dwight Gale's off the bench. He's going to chase back to right back, skin every player on the pitch twice, put it in the back of the net, and then he's going to score a tap in the last second as well. 3-1 Hibs. There we go. Ewan looks vexed that I've even suggested the idea, but Ewan, you go next.
I don't think we'll get beat. I genuinely don't. Um, I don't quite know why. I really don't think we're
It's
going to
like the
lose
laws
the
of
game.
stupid. The laws of
I,
stupid apply to Hibs a lot.
I really don't think we're going to lose the game of football. By the way, statistically, Hearts have still had a worse start to the season than us. They've played a game
Points
extra.
for game.
Look at Craig's face.
They've won European matches and that. Anyway,
We've won League Cup games. No, I think it'll be 2-1 Hibs because I actually think it'll be 1-1, but I'm going to say we're going to win. So I think it'll be 2-1 Hibs, and I think we'll be 2-0 up, and there'll be an onslaught, and we'll all be shiting ourselves, but we might just manage to see it on through. And I will go for Martin Boyle and Ekpiteta to score because we've been a threat from set pieces. So I
big
think
Marv.
Ekpiteta will get on one. Yep. Although he has the first contact for a lot of them, but I think he might get a wee glance one, cut across the front, pop it in the back post. Happy fucking days. That's what I'm going. 2-1 Hibs, Harry. Come on.
On the cabbage. Go on, Craig.
Up a tips.
Look, I've been no far away with a lot of my predictions this season. I predicted 2 each at the weekend. I was a bus sick flap away for that. So look, I was gonna take 2-1 to be fair. Nah, I'm just gonna say the same as you. I'm gonna say 2-1. I was gonna come up with something outlandish and say 3-0 there just for a fucking laugh, but I think I'll stick with 2-1. I think Boiler's gonna get on the score sheet, and I think Kwon is. He's due a goal.
Yeah,
Had
I
another
stand
one
by it.
close at the
Aye.
weekend. I think it's going to come for at the weekend. And I'm seeing taps off celebration into the crowd. And I apologise for it afterwards. He just seems like the guy that would say sorry. So,
Do you know
uh,
there is scope, I believe, for us to just simply play the team. Oh no, Nicky Cadden's. Never mind. I was going to say we could just play the team that won us our only league game this season, because that day it was Bursic, Cadden, Ekpiteta, O'Hora, Obita, Triantis, Kwon, Yuan, Molotnikov, Cadden, and Kukarevich. So, I mean, just change Nicky Cadden for Martin Boyle, who came on for them that day anyway. Happy days. Hoylett came on. You know what I mean? Like, just go back to the team that won you a game. Win another
And
one.
St Johnston are currently above Hearts, so it can't be a failed
Eh,
formula.
if we need some other reasoning for Hibs to win the game, I don't know if this reason will make it more likely that Hearts will win or Hibs will win, but they've not even taken a point away from him this season, so they're not very good on their travels.
right in time for us.
No, I know.
Upstate Hibs.
As soon as I seen that, I was like, is that a positive or a negative? But
No, it's definitely a negative.
they've not taken a point away from home. Like, that'll do for me. We're gonna win the game. Yeah.
That's fine.
Right,
Well,
can I just jump in on that? Who was it like a couple of seasons ago that we were playing and they hadn't, I'm sure it was like Ross County or something, and they hadn't won a league game in like 10 games or something, and it came to Easter Road on a Wednesday night and beat us 2-0. Like, upstep Hibs, if you need a win, we're there for you.
Mind during the COVID season when we what do you call it? We were streaking and we were like, yeah, we're class, and then we played Livingston and Ross County at home
Back to back
back-to-back
at
games and
Christmas
got
time.
pumped. Like, I remember almost falling at the attic.
Hibs class.
But guys, just to confirm, I will put the dummy back in as soon as Hibs start behaving themselves, so don't worry, the dummy is staying out for the foreseeable. Thanks so much for listening to our whining, not so much dining, but hopefully Hibs will feast this weekend, and we will catch you next time. I don't know where that came from, but
What a
goodbye.
fucking cabbage.
Cheers.